straight from the streets of New York, but now living in Miami, in the streets of Miami, going around searching for souls. My brother Herb, thank you for being here, man. I'm gonna give you these right now, but I'm gonna get you one with brand new batteries, man.
Hello, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with all of y'all here. Um, just to give you a little background, I was born in the country of El Salvador, Central America. I was raised in New York since the time I was 5 years old. We was very poor, extremely poor. We didn't have much of anything. So being poor, we ended up living in what we call the projects, which were like the lowest places in New York. We lived in Brooklyn, we lived in the Bronx, Queens, and that was my life. When you live in these places that are, very poor, a lot of stuff happens, a lot of drug dealing, a lot of murder. I remember that when we first moved to the projects, which were government buildings, the first experience I had was to see two black Afro-American men go onto a car. We was living on the 8th floor. I was a kid. They came with bats and they started hitting the windows and breaking the windows. They took out the guy inside and they smashed the bats on his face, on his body. And that's how I was raised. All right. There was a place called the Hot Corner. Everybody knew the Hot Corner. The Hot Corner was a place where you wouldn't say good morning, how you doing? Like you see people, you see friends, and you greet them. In New York, in this place called the Hot Corner, it would say, yo, man, who died? Or who got stabbed last night? That was it. That was just the way of life. All right. Now, before I go on, I want to talk to you about a family in New Mexico. And as I relate the story, you'll understand who they are. It's a story about a father in New Mexico and two sons. They had a farm not too far from here, and they worked the farm hard. But one of them, one day, he said, Dad, I don't want to be in the farm, man. I don't want to stay in New Mexico. I want to try something new. And he decided to go to New York City. So the father kept pleading with him and said, what are you going to do in New York City? Son, you were born here in New Mexico. What are you going to do over there? You don't know nothing about the city. He said, well, I want to try out, man. I want to try the world, Dad. I'm tired of the cows and all this dry land. I want to see something new. And one day he says, Dad, I want what's coming to me. And the father said, what's coming to you? He said, well, I want my part of the, when you die, right? He says, okay, so I'll give you what belongs to you, son. And the story goes saying that the son went to New York City, man. And he went to live the life. You all know who I'm talking about, what I'm talking about, right? I'm just putting it in modern terms, okay? Homeboy got over there and he just went to the city. He saw New York City, like, whoa, tall buildings, skyscrapers, and, people dress differently, Back in New Mexico, they wore hats and boots. Over here, people wear fine-looking shoes and ladies' clothes, and girls are tight, miniskirts, and he went crazy. He started throwing the money and using the money the father has given him. And the time came when he lost everything. When you decide to go the wrong way in life, you will lose everything. And that story is my story. All right. I wasn't raised a Seventh-day Adventist. I was raised just like any other kid. And I'm just going to share with you one story of my life. And I think that should be enough. And I want you all to listen to me because it might help you in your life. Because I see a lot of young people here. I see 3 young people over here. If you could just look at me for a bit, because you need to hear this. You need to hear this. And everybody needs to hear this. So I grew up in Far Rockaway, Queens, where there was always somebody dead, where there was always somebody being stabbed. And that was the environment in which I grew. It was very, very harsh environment. At the age of 15, I started my new business. I started my first business. What was my first business? I began to steal bicycles from the rich neighborhoods. We would ride, 3 of us, we would ride a bike. One would be standing behind me and we would ride into the rich neighborhood. And the 3 behind me will get off the bike and, steal bikes from the rich houses bring them back to our place, and then we will sell them. And the business was really catching on real nice. We were selling bikes left and right. Man, I said, man, this thing is working out nice. And I was making money. And we're talking about that about 1975, you know, making $100 a week. That was a lot of money back in 1975 for a young kid, 50 years old, right? But that didn't last too long. One day they caught up with us. Cops caught up with us. And we went over there and they caught us. All right. They found us. And we all went crazy on riding our bikes. I remember I took my bike because I've always been good with bikes. I'm very flexible young man. Well, not anymore, but back then I was very flexible. And I started riding my bike. I started jumping places, going here, going there. And I got away. So I stopped. And one day, this big black guy came over to me and he said, yo, young blood, you know, back in the 70s, they used some of this word, you know, they said, yo, young blood, come over here. Young blood is a young kid. He said, yo, young blood, get over here. I said, what's up, man? He says, you want to make some real money, man? Because I know about you. I know you was doing this with the bike. You already knew. I kind of got famous because I was the dealer providing bicycles to the neighborhood. I said, man, you can make more money and less work. You don't have to go around. I said, how is that? He said, no, man, you just got to sell these little bags. They're called nickel bags. You stand in the corner. This is going to be your corner. And this is where you're going to sell your stuff. And you're going to make a lot of money. So I kind of like the idea. And that's how I entered into the world of drugs, distributing drugs. I started small, but life went on and became big. There was a guy, they used to call him Shorty. They called him Shorty. And Shorty was this Puerto Rican guy who was small, but the kid was muscular. You know, he was like a pit bull. You know, pit bull, right? Pit bulls are small, but don't mess around with a pit bull, y'all, because he'll bite you, he'll take a piece out of you, right? But that was Shorty. All right, we call him Shorty. But you see, homeboy here, her, you know, I didn't stay behind. I was doing a lot of weights. I was doing a lot of exercise. So, you know, I was in my prime. I was already in high school. I was like 17 and I already had people working for me. You know, things were going well. And I guess I went into his turf, you know. I started selling into his turf and he found out about it. And I was in class, I was in high school, and we went to the cafeteria. We went to the cafeteria and we was having lunch. And then like the cafeteria in that high school, it's a very old high school from the 1800s, was in the basement of the building. And you have windows and you can see up the windows, and those windows were actually the street level, so it was below ground. And I see a whole bunch of guys like pointing like towards where I was. And I had my homeboys around me, right? We was all eating. We was kids. And we was all eating. And we were talking about what we're going to do after that, right? And then one of them said to me, yo, Herb, I think they're pointing at you, man. I turned around. And when I turned around, they went like this and saying things I didn't understand, but I could tell you they were not talking about Bible text to me, okay? So I didn't mind. I didn't put no mind to it. I said, don't worry about it, man. We got this here. Let's enjoy our lunch. So we ate. We had fun. So the time came to go out. When we went out, there was 15 guys standing in the corner facing us. We were walking, and I had my guys because I never walked alone. I always had my guys with me. And they were coming towards me. And the one in the middle, I realized who it was because everybody was told except him. I said, oh, okay, so this is Shorty right here. All right, Shorty's coming to me. So Shorty was walking, and he's got this big marijuana cigar, and he's getting high, this guy. I guess he's trying to feel like macho, right? And I'm just standing there. Because one thing you know, in that world, you know, you got to be cool about things. You can't go crazy. You know, you got to keep it cool. If you lose your cool, you're dead. So I stood there and I told all my homeboys, I said, yo, guys, I said, get ready, man. Whatever comes our way, be ready. Just be ready. And, you know, when you're young and crazy, you know, all my homeboys say, all right, man, we're ready for whatever comes. And they had chains. They had knives. One of them had a 22, all right, semi-automatic. We had nothing. We were coming out of school. We couldn't go into school with weapons. So Shorty comes to me. And what I'm trying to say people, is that one day you're going to face yourself in a situation like that. One day you're going to come out of high school and someone is going to come and say to you, hey, you want to try this? It's free. And what I'm saying to you is that you're going to learn to say, hey, no, I don't do those things. What I'm saying to you is somebody's going to give you something for free that is not good for your life. You are a little older and you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of stuff that, you know what I tell young people? There's a jungle out there. There's a jungle out there. And only the smart survive out there. You all know what I'm talking about, the adults, all right? There's a lot of everything over here in Española. All right? There's a lot of stuff happening here. All right? You may see it quiet, but it's happening behind closed doors. And sometimes they come out, and they don't come out alone. They come out with guns and knife and whatever. All right? Last time I was here, all right, because I came here once. I don't know who remembers me, but I came to this church a while ago. Okay, we was coming from the Dixon Church, and there was cops running all over. I was with the pastor. They were chasing somebody. And believe me, they were not chasing him to give him $100. All right? They were not doing that. So you got to learn and understand that the world is full of a lot of trickery, man. And today, young people and even adults, you must make a decision for yourself. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your life? Some of you really care and listen. Others don't care. But I'm talking to everybody. All right, I'm talking to everybody. Us adults, we need to hear this too. Because you see, the devil doesn't care if you're old, if you're young, if you're a kid. He wants everybody on his side. Because he doesn't want you to live. He doesn't want you to inherit the kingdom of God. And that's what he was doing with me. He was messing me up. And then I remember Shorty coming to me with smoking the big pot, man. And he said, yo, Herb, you know who I am? I said, I know who you are, man. I said, you know who I am too. And we began a fight of words. And he said to me, I come to mess you up. So when somebody says I come to mess you up, you basically dead. In New York back in the days, you're dead. I come to mess you up. And then I said, oh, no, please, no. I said, try it. I said, try it. I have a loud voice by nature. If you haven't realized, I got a loud voice. My voice is powerful. So the only weapon I had there, I thought that was it. But now that I'm a son of God, I realized who was behind me. I raised my voice and I began to curse him. I began to tell him things. And then he says, I'm gonna mess you up. And then I said, listen, if you want to do something, let's take care of it together. Let your homeboys go. I'll let my homeboys go. It's you and me. Let's go to the park. There was a park near the school called Bayswater Park, and there used to be a hangout for all young people. So I told him, if you really want to do this right, you and me, let's go over there because I want to see some blood running. I want to see blood. It wasn't true. I didn't want to see no blood. But I was messing with his head because I knew I didn't have a chance. And I could stick my hand behind, but I had nothing. I had a pencil behind me on my back, my rear pocket. That's all I had. And he was well armed, and he had a lot of people. We didn't stand a chance. But somehow, my screaming and the words I was saying, and I want to see blood run. One of us is going to come out of there. One of us is going to stay back there. I guess it got to me. Well, I thought it was that, but as I look back to my life, I realized that Jesus Christ never left me alone. And see, Jesus will never leave you nor forsake you. That is his promise. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you, no matter what you're going through, no matter where you've been, even if you're not listening to me. Okay, but Jesus will look after you. Life out there is hard. And those who are a little older know what I'm talking about. And if we were all to write a book, we all have a book over here, a winning book of our lives. Shorty came and said to me, yo, Herb, I'm going to squash this. And I said, you're squashing it, not me. You want to squash it, you squash it. I ain't going to squash nothing. You know, I was so dumb that I insisted. I said, you're squashing it, not me. Because I wanted to taste the blood. I wanted to taste the blood. Let me tell you something about Herb. Herb is a very passionate guy in everything he does. I'm passionate about my wife. Man, I got a sexy, beautiful wife. I love my wife. I've been texting with my wife, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in church. What am I doing here? I'm texting with somebody else. But it's my wife. I'm in love with my wife. I always wanted a Colombian wife. You know, I lived in Colombia 2 years. This is a commercial now. All right. And I said, you know what? I want me a Colombian wife someday. And it took all these years, man. Finally, I met the woman of my life in 2013. So I'm still in love. Can you blame me? I'm making the face for the picture, sister. All right. So, you know, I'm a very passionate guy. I'm passionate about my wife. I'm passionate about my kids. I love my kids. I'm passionate about my sport. I do a lot of sports, one sport, but I do a lot of it. It's mountain biking. All right. I wanted to bring my bike over here because I wanted to go mountain biking because there's a lot of hills over here. It's nice. But when I saw how much is the luggage to put the bike in, I'm like, I ain't got that kind of money. $400, forget about it. All right. But going back, I'm very passionate about everything I do. Back then, I was passionate about selling nickelbacks and distributing drugs all over. Everybody knew me. Everybody. It got so good in my life that I made it to the big places. Who's 60 years old here? Let me see. Who are the 60s and up over here? Anybody 60? Nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to confront the reality, right? Well, anyway. Okay, oh, that's right. This is for young people. Back then, you know, the biggest nightclubs in New York City in the 1978, 1980s were, you know, Studio 54, Casablanca, right? Roseland. Oh, Roseland. I used to love Roseland. Anyway, all these big clubs. And guess what? I was distributing to all those big clubs. Man, I was making mad money. No, that's New York talk again. I'm sorry. I was making a lot of money. It's called mad money. All right, I was making mad money. Man, I was happy. Man, I was driving at 19 years old. I was driving Jaguars. I was driving Caddies. I still got the pictures of some of those cars. I should have brought the pictures. Oh, gosh. Anyway, so I had all these fancy cars. And I thought I was on the top of the world. But when you're in this world without God, you're nothing. You got nothing. And you can lose it all in like this. And that's precisely what happened to me. I lost it all. I ended up in prison because I got caught. But going back to Shorty, so Shorty and I started telling him off. And then finally, Shorty just looked at me up because he was short. Definitely he was short. He went, come on, let's go. And everybody left. And then one of the guys behind me said, he was from Guatemala. And he started like trying to lit the fire on me again. And he was saying Spanish, hey, dale. Aquí estamos nosotros. Dale, jefe, dale. I'm like, shut up, man. He's left already, right? That was one incident of the so many I went through. I wasn't too lucky in others. I ended up in the hospital more than once. Broken bones, half dead. Okay. I lost many friends to stabbings, bullet wounds. All right. I've lost all my friends. And I want to end with this. One day, I decided to give Jesus Christ a chance in my life.